So, Adam, in the last couple of weeks, there's been obviously a lot of media interest in Bitcoin, and people have been finding out about Bitcoin for the first time. And actually, Let's Talk Bitcoin's numbers have gone up quite a bit. We usually get thousands of plays on each episode, but recently that's gone up maybe about tenfold. So obviously there are lots of people hearing about Bitcoin for the first time. And we thought it might be a good idea to do just kind of a newbie rundown for somebody who's not that familiar with Bitcoins and just welcome all the new listeners.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. This will be airing probably on episode 61, and we've never actually done a new user episode where we sit down and for the entire episode go through comprehensively kind of, what is this thing, Bitcoin, that we talk about all the time at kind of a pretty high level. So yeah, I'm glad that we're finally getting to this and can shed some clarity on this issue and then use this episode, of course, as kind of an entry point for new users coming in the future. So hello, future listeners of Let's Talk Bitcoin.
Yes. Okay, so let's start out maybe with the most basic question of all. What is a Bitcoin and why does it matter?
To me, and again, this is like one of those kind of subjective questions, Bitcoin at its core is a digital currency, right? It's data essentially that lives on the network. In every copy of the Bitcoin software that's installed, a copy of the entire transaction ledger that's ever happened lives there. So Bitcoin really, it's like a record of money that lives on every computer of the person who uses it, which is a really interesting idea. The way that Bitcoin works at its core level is it's kind of like cash that lives on the internet, right? If you're standing next to a person in real life, then you can hand them a couple of dollars or, however much you want in cash. They receive it directly. It doesn't go through a bank when I hand cash from, me to you. And if I later want to put a hold on that, or if it was a fraudulent transaction, there are no protections that I can really call on. I can't call my bank and say, hey, can you please put a hold on that $10 bill that I gave to Stephanie a while ago? If you can get past thinking about money as credit cards and get towards thinking about money as cash, then you take that and you combine the concept with email. And it's like if you took cash and combined it with email, that's the core visualization, I think, for people who have no context, is it's doing for money what email did for mail.
Yeah, I really like the email analogy because that goes into the next thing about Bitcoins. Well, how do you move Bitcoins around? Well, they're not associated with Adam or Stephanie. They're associated with a Bitcoin address. And a Bitcoin address is like an email address.
Harder to remember.
Harder to remember, yeah. It's a string of kind of gibberish characters. And you can send Bitcoins to an address if you know what the address is. So anybody can send Bitcoins to an address if they know the address. But the only person that can move Bitcoins from the address and send them to somewhere else is the person who can prove their ownership over the address by having control of something called the private keys. It's basically like you can receive mail at an email address, but you can only send mail if you have your password and you type it in.
Right. The physical analogy for this, again, using the mail, is that like this is like a one-way drop box, right? Like a mailbox, like one of the ones where mail is collected for larger delivery, and you can put mail in at the top, but only someone with the key at the bottom can actually extract what has been put in. It's very similar here. And so that means that, on the one hand, you have to protect the key, because if someone else gets the key, then they can open the box and take what's out too. But on the other hand, it means that, like, if we make a cash transaction and I'm asleep at the time, well, then we can't make a cash transaction. But we can make a Bitcoin transaction because I don't need to be there. I can just go later with my key, access my account, and if the Bitcoin is there, then I'm able to spend it.
Hi, this is Jason King, founder at Sean's Outpost, and you are listening to Let's Talk Bitcoin. Sean's Outpost is a homeless outreach in Pensacola, Florida, and we are proudly powered by Bitcoin. To date, over 13,000 meals have been fed to the homeless in our area, all purchased with Bitcoin and through the generosity of the cryptocurrency community. Read more about us at seansoutpost.com. Food, shelter, Bitcoin, everybody. Sean'sOutpost.com.